Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. So if you're wanting to get a good backsaw, what should you be looking for? There are lots of different options and different sizes and different styles, and what do they mean and what are the names, and let's dive into it. So first of all, what exactly is a backsaw? Because they come in many different types and styles. So what is the definition? Basically, it's a saw with a back on it. I know, really ingenious. I love the way the English named those. It's just kind of the Academy Prize should go to them. But in all honesty, yes, there's a back. And there are many different types of backs and different styles of them and different looks. But as long as they have a back, it's a backsaw. Yes, even Japanese saws have some styles that have backs on them. And technically they would be a backsaw, though in Japanese they have other words for it, which I have difficulty pronouncing. Now, sometimes you will see the gent saw that has this handle that comes off of here. The gent saw is honestly a pile of trash, but some people really do like them. They're really good for the little detail things, but honestly, give me a dovetail saw over a gent saw. It's far more comfortable and usable, and honestly, yeah, there are people who like these. I'm not one of them. Into the standard sizes of backsaws, the first and smallest is the dovetail saw. It's generally 10 to 14 inches long, depending on what you want, and there you will some find that are longer, but they're much more shallow. Often they're only 3/4 inches deep. This one's about 1.5 inches deep. They're very, very delicate, very thin plate, almost no set on the teeth, very, very small teeth. Some people like the teeth to be even down to 20 teeth per inch. I usually like around 18 to 16. I find that to be just about right for a dovetail saw. The bigger the saw gets, the more this handle comes up. Generally, you want this handle facing at somewhere around the middle of the teeth, though some people prefer it pointing a little bit farther back. Usually I like it in the back 1/3 of the saw. The next one up is the carcass saw. It is longer than the dovetail saw. It is taller than the dovetail saw, but this one is a cross-cut teeth. It is designed to go across the board. Whereas the dovetail saw was rip teeth because it rips with the board. Some people like it with a little bit of a hybrid. The carcass saw is cross-cut. This is the saw for the general work of carcass making. It is a general all-around, and this used to be my go-to saw. This used to be the saw I used more than any other. But after talking with Shannon Rogers for a while, he finally convinced me to give the sash saw a try. The sash saw is the next big one. It is also a cross-cut saw, just like this, except for it is longer and it is taller. It is a little bit thicker. The teeth tend to be a little bit larger, though pretty similar in between the two. The sash saw, though, is really versatile. Once you get the skill down and you can handle a larger, slightly heavier saw, then this saw becomes far more versatile. It will cut deeper, it will cut longer, and I find that this is the saw that I'm using more than anything else, the sash saw. The carcass saw is a little bit lighter and simpler, so for beginners, the carcass saw may be more enjoyable. Now, one of the confusing things, this is a Veritas saw, and when you go to Veritas, it says that it has carcass saw in both rip cut and cross cut. And that has confused a lot of people because traditionally the carcass saw is cross-cut. It's not a rip-cut saw. So if you have a rip-cut saw shaped like a carcass saw, it's not a carcass saw, it's like a big dovetail saw. But they offer it in both rip-cut and cross-cut, and so that can be that way. The last one, the big one, this is the tenon saw. It is taller and it is longer. It is usually somewhere around 16, 18, sometimes even longer than that. Usually has at least 3 to 4 inches of blade depth. It is a very heavy saw. It is a beefy saw. It is intended for cutting down the cheeks of tenon. It is a rip cut as opposed to these being cross cut. This one is designed to go with the grain of the board. And so this one is the one you use for cutting the cheeks of the tenon, whereas these would be used for cutting the shoulders of the tenon. As with any names in the hand tool woodworking world, you're going to see different names and different sizes and different people talking about different things. Generally, you have the dovetail, carcass, sash saw, tenon saw, and those are generally the way it is. Though with Veritas, again, you can get the tenon saw in both cross-cut and rip-cut, and basically if it's a cross-cut tenon saw, it's basically a sash saw. But they don't delineate those as much. They basically sell them. And it really confuses a lot of people because of names. Names are fun, especially in woodworking, and how names have changed over time and location and occupation and which side of the pond you're on. For the next stop in our journey, we're going to talk about the back of the saw. Now, naturally, the first thing you're going to think of is what is it made out of? Most historical ones are made out of brass, though a lot of the American makers, particularly Atkins and Distant, preferred to make them out of steel. Though a lot of new makers have been making them out of polymer. So which ones are better? And honestly, it's kind of up to personal choice. The brass are a little heavier, and so there's more weight in the saw. Some people really like that because it allows the saw to cut a little faster by its own. But being heavier means that sometimes you have to take the weight off of the saw, and it takes a little bit more skill. Whereas a lot of the American saw makers preferred to make them out of steel or iron because that just makes them a little bit stronger, they're a little stiffer, and they tend to actually be a little bit lighter weight than the brass counterparts. So kind of personal preference. I mean, technically speaking, if I were to choose brass or steel, I would prefer steel. On paper, it is better, but in feel and look, you just can't beat the look of the brass. And then we come to polymer. It's not plastic, is it? I mean, it's not. It's plastic, okay? Polymer is plastic. It may be a nice plastic. It may have some other things into it, but it's still not metal or wood. The nice thing about it is it's very lightweight, and so it's very easy for a beginner to learn because they don't have to lift as much weight off of the work. Most of the work of using a backsaw is using this back horn. You want to be able to balance it between your middle finger and the back of your palm, and you want to be able to lift the weight up, and so while you're moving it, you're just scratching the surface of the wood. You'd want to be able to keep the weight off, and being able to learn to keep the weight off of the work is a great thing, and having a lightweight saw makes this a great saw for a beginner. Not to mention, it's relatively affordable. But it's just not as pleasing to the soul as brass, shiny and clean. Next, when talking about backs, we need to talk about folded versus cut. A folded back is literally a piece that they have folded and crimped together, and that crimp then sandwiches the plate and holds on. Whereas the cut back is a bar of steel where they've cut a slot into it, and that slot then fits down over the steel. The cut back is easier to create. It's simpler to make, and you put it back in there. Sometimes the back will be pinched in and held very similar to a folded back. Sometimes they'll be drilled through and riveted. Sometimes they'll be glued in. Whereas with the folded back, the blade is just pinched in there. Nothing is holding it other than the friction of this pinching the blade. Generally, the folded back is the one that most people prefer. The nice thing is, if the blade catches and twists, the saw can actually move in the back, and it won't kink the saw, it'll just kind of bend it. And then to fix it, you flip it over, rest it down on the table and go, and one solid hit drives the blade back down into that back and straightens it out. And so it's very quick and easy. If you do get some kinks in there, it fixes itself. It's very nice in that you're not going to be running into problems. If the backs are riveted or screwed like this and it runs into a problem, it's going to kink. That blade can't go anywhere. And you can see in this one, I kinked it a while ago and actually broke out that little piece. And so the last 2 inches of the saw are basically worthless because it didn't have anywhere to go. If this was a folded back, then that saw would have a place to go and it would bend out of the way and I could reset it back in. But because it's screwed and riveted, if it does bend, you're probably going to be running into problems. So that's why I'm not a big fan of backs that are drilled and riveted. There's a lot of them out there that I've just had several problems with, and if you're a beginner, please stay away from riveted or drilled bits, as you're probably going to be running into issue, or you're going to be kinking it and wanting to get a new one, because this is one of the first ones I bought, and I did this about a week after starting to use a tenon saw for the first time. There are some manufacturers out there that people really love that are drilled and riveted and drive me bonkers. I've seen so many times where someone has kinked the blade and just gone mad about it, whereas if it's folded, then you just tap it and it's fixed. And so that's why in general, if you can get a folded back, do so, but they do cost a little bit more, and well, there's a reason, because they're generally better. Now, let's look at all these handles, and one of these is not like the other. When you're buying a saw, 90% of the work you're paying for is into a good handle. And if you're buying a cheap saw, you're going to be buying one that has a cheap handle. Now, for instance, this is a PAX saw. It's relatively good saw, good plate, a folded brass back. Honestly, really, really good up here, but then you get back to this and it's like, I mean, someone just threw up all over it. Someone just took a router and went around this. It was made very quickly and efficiently, but you'll find it just doesn't fit your hand right. It doesn't feel as good, and that can honestly affect your saw work. Is it worth spending the extra to get a handle that was fully shaped and carved? That depends on your skill level. But the nice thing about this is they leave it beefy and thick enough that you can just file it and shape it down, and now I've got one that is much, much better. It's not quite as good as some of the high-end handles I'll get, but for a fraction of the price because I did the work myself. Now I have this nice folded back, good steel plate with a relatively comfortable handle for a fraction of the price. So when it comes to picking a saw, you have to ask yourself a bunch of questions. What are you looking for? What size? What shape? Generally, I tell people the first one you should get is either a carcass saw or sash saw. You're going to use that saw way more than any other saw in the park. A lot of people really think that the dovetail saw is the one to get. I don't use this one that much. It's probably 4 or 5 down the list of what saws I actually use in the shop. The sash saw is the one I'm using all the time. Probably about 50% of the saw work I do is with this saw. Next, you have to ask yourself, what is your budget? If you really don't have that much, this is one of those things where don't go to antiques. Backsaws, antiques, they're very expensive, and you're not going to get quite as good of a saw. Honestly, antiques aren't a great bang for the buck. The Veritas saws, they're not amazing. The handle is okay. They're missing a few things, but for the price, they're really, really good. Pax saws, Lynx saws, there's a couple other companies like that where they actually make good backs and you can redo the handle yourself and get some good shaping on it. I have a video on doing this one, as well as Rex has a video on that as well, and you can put a little bit of time and effort into it and get a really nice saw that will treat you well for a long time. One thing I don't like about Pax and Lynx is they have much taller brass backs. This is a very, very heavy saw, so for as a beginner, you're having to learn very, very early to take the weight off. You're having to really control your force with it. Plus, they tend to be a bit shorter for their size range. This is their dovetail saw, this is their carcass saw. So a little bit different in size, but personal preference. So when it comes down to buying your first saw, where are you gonna go with that? Now, I am gonna be doing a video here soon where I'm gonna be going up and interviewing Bad Axe Toolworks. There are a lot of amazing companies out there that are doing some really, really nice, beautiful work. And if you have the money to afford one of these, they're well worth it. Having a saw that actually fits your hand and you buy it by your hand size to make sure that the handle actually fits you. Having that ability gives you a saw that just works with you rather than something you're forcing and trying to make it work. As much as I would like these, there just isn't that much because the spacing here is rather large. So unless you have a really big hand, you're really going to be getting a saw that never quite fits you. Even if you really shape it down, it's still going to be a bit sloppy in your hand. And so that's why paying the premium price for a premium saw can sometimes be worth it, because getting a saw that fits you and feels good is really kind of pleasing. And that's really the whole reason we're in the shop, is to have some fun, not to have the saw that does the work well. We're in the shop because I want to enjoy my time, and sometimes having a saw that really makes me happy is kind of the point of it. But if you're in the shop just to get the work done, that's what you want. Get something affordable, get something done, and have some fun in the shop. So I'd love to hear your thought on this. What do you look for in a back saw? What are some things that I missed on this? Is there something I just said wrong? Please let me know. If you have some particular idea that you'd like to hear said, put it in the comments down below. Thank you. Putting comments, likes, share, subscribe helps us get in front of more people, helps the algorithm, really makes everything happen. So thank you for that. If you would like to help out with that, then think about becoming one of those fantastic people who put comment down below, down below. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people who do that. Just comment down below, down below. Thank you. It does mean a lot. But if you really want to be amazing, if you really want to blow it out of the park and be phenomenal, think about joining these people over here. There are a few of the people on Patreon. Between patrons and members, people on the channel who actually support us financially, you guys are the ones that make this happen. We are sponsored completely by you, and without you, we wouldn't be here. If you want to help us keep the lights on and keep it going, then think about becoming a patron or a member, or even hitting the thank you button down below. So I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. It's okay. It's okay. I got your back.